You are Locked On Astros Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, well, they did exactly what they needed to do with a lot of help from the Pirates throughout the night, but the Astros pull off a win that they had to have. Simple as that. Welcome in tonight to the Locked On Astros Postcast right here. Live on the Locked On Sports Houston page. Thank you guys for stopping by, as you always do, as we talk Astros wins, Rockets wins, Texans wins, Cougs wins, all kinds of wins here on the page. Which, by the way, tomorrow night, if you are looking for some post-game Texans discussion, our very first Locked On Texans postcast tomorrow night on this channel will be live as soon as the final snap has been taken. Maybe a couple of minutes before. We'll just take a look at how it's a Hall of Fame game, the first game of the season. We'll monitor that situation. We could start a little bit earlier than the end of the game because the result really will not matter at all. But let's talk about the Astros tonight. That's what we're here for in the Locked On Astros postcast, of course, because, well, they're pretty good when they win. We enjoy them when they win. This episode, by the way, is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Framber tonight. We'll get to him in just a few minutes because it was a weird night for Framber. But let's talk about taking advantage of situations tonight. Man. Now, if you're a Pittsburgh Pirate fan, that's not a franchise that typically has a lot to be happy about because, one, they've got cheap owners. Two, they don't live in a great market, even though they've got the world's best ballpark. And three, they don't ever have any eyeballs on them. So they are the definition of a small market team. When they have their glimpses of being good, they got to enjoy that. But for a team that has a winning record this season, my goodness, can they kick the baseball around? And that's exactly what they did tonight. I mean, O'Neal Cruz tonight, for a guy that's got, you see all the crazy talent and everything, and you see all the things that everybody went nuts for when he came up. He's not going to be a superstar in this league. I mean, you just watch him. It's pretty clear. He's got a lot of swing and miss. He is too lackadaisical with the defense. He can throw it 100 miles an hour, but there's just nothing that's consistent about his game of baseball to where you think, oh yeah, that guy's got superstar written all over him. He got a lot of hype when he came up, which is fine. I mean, for good reason. You don't see a lot of, what is he, 6'7" shortstops, and he cost the Pirates baseball game tonight to an extent. I mean, I know that he didn't give up the home run there at the end to Mauricio Dubón, which stand up and take a bow, Mauricio Dubón. I mean, has there been anybody in this batting, or I shouldn't say the lineup because he's not playing very much these days. For good reason, he's been atrocious at the plate recently. And he needed that as badly as anybody. I mean, just simple as that. And they got it tonight. And he got a fastball up and in, and he just absolutely cranked that ball out of the ballpark and took advantage of a very, needed situation there to put the Astros put them in front for the first time in the baseball game. And this win just, again, simply it had to happen. Being swept out at home is a disaster. They are able to salvage the first 6 games of this homestand now. They're 3-3 on it with Tampa coming to town. We'll take a closer look at that in a bit. Those last few minutes of the show, we'll talk that Tampa series. We'll also talk about the best news of the day after a couple of days of bad roster moves or roster moves that don't get you excited necessarily, which, by the way, Yusei Kikuchi will make his Astros debut Friday night. I hope for him it goes well. I really do. I hope that he performs better than he did in Toronto because he's going to wear it from the fan base. I mean, it's just as simple as that. when it comes to the treatment, because, and it's unfair to him, again, because the general manager here of the Astros decided to get wild and crazy and give up way too much for a pitcher that's got a 5-something ERA. So again, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. He'll, again, start that game on Friday, and we'll also be here for Friday's game as well. We'll be here all weekend. Look, we're about to get busy on this channel. Busy. We're going to have to find a way to sneak in Texans and Astros on the weekends together. I think we're going to be able to pull it off most weekends. So, again, if you like the content for the Astros, you want some content for the Texans, hit the subscribe button, and we'll give you that. But, again, the Astros had to have this. They had to have this win tonight, simply put. And it really, really felt like it was going to be a rough night. I mean, there's no other way around it. That dread early in the baseball game was just like, oh my goodness, really? And then you see, and look, both teams, neither team played a clean baseball game tonight. It was not a clean baseball game. 6 errors in the baseball game tonight between the two teams. 4 for the Pirates, 2 for the Astros. The Astros going to Singleton and to Pena. Singleton's glove's been a little bit shaky of late. He's been really good at picking the ball at first overall, but there's been some moments recently. Pena, for a guy that won a Gold Glove a couple of years ago, you realize he has 11 errors in the season? 11. I don't even know if he made that many as a rookie. I would imagine it was way less than that. I mean, he won the Gold Glove, a year after Carlos Correa won the Platinum Glove at shortstop for the Astros. Pena's rookie year in the big leagues, error-wise. Actually, I was wrong. He actually made 19 errors that year. Made 14 last year, did not win the Gold Glove last year, and now has 11. His fielding percentage entering tonight was the same this year as it was last year. So I saw that number, and I was like, 11 errors for Pena? That's whatever. You got the win, right? And the better news today is, the Mariners lost earlier today. They lost to the Red Sox by a final of 3-2. And the Astros technically go back to the top of the American League West because of the percentage point game. They're tied, but the Astros are slightly ahead. So they will hold first place going into Friday's game. The Mariners are off tomorrow as well. So good news for the Astros. They can go to sleep for a couple of nights leading the American League West, correct? I'm not mad at it. I know you guys aren't mad at it. They're .01 ahead of the Mariners in terms of winning percentage. So that gives them the first spot. And that's the scary proposition of this season still, is that, you look at the way that the division is played out, and it's not been a good division. We all know that. It's been the worst division in baseball all year long. And it's really going to take winning this division to make the postseason. I just don't think a wild card is going to be possible based off the way that the other teams in this league are playing. I mean, look at the AL. It's amazing. The AL West this year turned into the AL Central. The AL Central they're on the verge of having 3 teams with 60 wins already. The Twins are 1 off. The Royals have 60, and the Guardians have 65. They're going to put 3 teams in the postseason. And then, of course, the AL East is definitely going to put 2 teams in the postseason. And they still have another that's in the dogfight to be a third. So those 2 divisions are going to take up all the wild card spots. The AL West has to be won to get into the postseason. August 1st is tomorrow. It's time to kick it into a new gear, right? Good news is the Astros are typically pretty good at kicking it into a new gear when they get into these kind of situations late into the season, whatever it might be. So here's to hoping that is what is about to come for this baseball club, because they need it, and they needed a win tonight. And again, they got it in the absolute worst time that worst way possible, I guess is the best way to put it, because again, ugly baseball game tonight overall at Minute Maid Park. Thank you guys for joining us again here tonight on the Locked On Astros Postcast. Don't be a stranger. Hit that subscribe button. Come back to us all the time. Let's talk Framber Valdez. His night. It wasn't very good early, but he rebounded. We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Astros Postcast. But first, let me tell you about Prize Picks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app for a reason, with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you. That's right. It's just you against the numbers. Trust me, I've played a lot of Prize Picks. I have a lot of fun with it. And you can have a lot of fun with it and a lot of excitement. You can get in on this excitement and win up to 100 times your cash with the summer games on Prize Picks. The Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 while watching Team USA rack up the gold medals this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup of players across basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, and more in as little as 60 seconds. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. I love the ability to go get those golfers. They have 3 major wins on that USA golf team this year in Schauffele and Scheffler. So guess what I'm going to be doing? Playing them on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks. For a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Locked On Astros Postcast rolls on here on a Wednesday night. Usually these are day games because it's usually a getaway day. But today, night game for it because the day's off tomorrow for these clubs. So the Astros are able to avoid the sweep. Thank goodness that happened. The Astros tonight had Framber Valdez on the mound. And look, I know it. You know it. We all know it. Framber Valdez is a massive sticking point when it comes to conversation with this baseball team. Recently, Framber Valdez has been pretty darn good, pretty darn consistent. Tonight, flat out, his second inning was bad. Very, very bad. And, just giving up hits, and before you know it, it's a 4-run inning. Now, I can give him credit here, as we all should. Now, you might say, well, you're a professional athlete. You shouldn't even be this problem in the first place. Okay, so here's the thing tonight, is that the Astro starter could have gone out there and just cratered at that point and just given up everything else and been awful the rest of the night and not giving his team any length at all. And he didn't do that. And, I know that some people will, because Framber is such a hot button topic for so many people, like people will take this as you're just a Framber. It's not about being a Framber homer. It goes this way with any starter. Especially the ones that are great, that are elite level type of pitchers. And Framber can be an elite level type of pitcher. Is he, Verlander, peak Verlander type of dominant or type of, elite? Maybe not because of the mental side of it. But stuff-wise, getting guys out, absolutely. But when the best of the best, I'll give him this tonight, when they typically go down and they get in trouble and they give up runs, they find a way to get back to smooth waters. And they find a way to work through it and still get outs and still get it deep into the baseball game. And he did that tonight. He settled. That was it. I think about all the Verlander starts throughout the years where, he'll go out, and it really happened in the postseason. I can think of the ALCS against the Yankees in 2019. It's just one of them off the top of my head. He went out and gave it like 4 runs in the first and pitched 6 shutout, like 1-hit innings the rest of the way. Framber does the same kind of thing, too. Like, you go out there and you just, have a bad one. You have a bad one, but you find a way to gut it out. You find a way to right the ship. Like I said, get back to those smooth waters and roll for a bit. Gets through 6, does end up getting the win tonight. Gets his 10th win of the season. His ERA did go up a little bit to 3.56. Tied his career high strikeouts, or not career high, season high, 10 strikeouts in the baseball game. Important number. This is an important number for all pitching, but how often does this happen with this Astro staff? Because for some reason it feels like they're like allergic to not walking guys out of the bullpen. The entire staff that pitched tonight, 0 walks. Big old fat goose egg. That's right, 0 walks for the entire pitching staff tonight. Absolutely wild. Because, again, throughout these years, it always feels like, they just come in and they just want to give up walks left and right at times. Leadoff walks, whatever it might be. And that didn't happen tonight. Good thing. Positive vibes, baby. Good positive vibes. And hopefully positive vibes going into the weekend now against Tampa. But Framber, they need more of, the good stuff out of him, of course. I'm just pulling up his game logs real quick. That concludes his month of July, where, honestly, you go back and look at the raw numbers of it, he was excellent. He made 5 starts, went 4-0, 2.90 ERA. 40 strikeouts in 31 innings, walked just 9, allowed 2 home runs, 28 hits total in the month. So he had a whip of 1.19. If he duplicated that month over and over, you could live with it, of course. I mean, he really has only one bad month that stands out. It was the month of May. He had a 5.34 ERA in that month. To start the season, he had a 1.42 in April before he got hurt. Then he had that 5.34 in May. And then in June, 3.11, and then this month, 2.9. And this month, he had 3 of his 5 starts be 10 strikeout starts. So, and look, he did have 2 starts against bad. Well, I shouldn't say that. Pirates are a winning team. He had a start against a bad team in the Miami Marlins. He also had a start against Seattle that he won, or didn't win, but pitched well enough in. Then he had that start against the Dodgers where he's really good. So, I'll give him the pass on his 4 runs that he gave up tonight. That's okay. Can live with it. Again, he calmed down. He found his way through it. And I get why that frustrates people at times, because it's like, I mean, come on, man. How much more can you be in your own head at times? Just from that he's in his own head because of the uniforms alone. Remember when it just always used to be just wear the blue jerseys? And now he's like superstitious from wearing those. You'll see him whip it back out occasionally just to see if it works. But they're over here wearing the white jerseys with the blue hat and the orange brim, and then they're wearing the orange jersey with the blue hat and the orange brim. I mean, if there's one thing that I have always complained about the Astros since they changed back to these uniforms, they did it right when they first started. But why they killed off the alternate orange hat, which wasn't an alternate back in the day, they actually wore an orange hat, of course. But why they got rid of the orange hat, I don't understand still to this day. I loved the orange hat. Absolutely loved it. And I need it back. So if there's anybody else that can get the orange hat back into the rotation at all, please, Framber Valdez, make that your mission for your million uniforms that you wear. Into the comments, there's Supreme Panda. The Astros used to wear an orange hat. It was just orange. It was the blue hat, but orange. That's what it was. I would just like to see that back. I love that hat. They used to wear that hat back in when did they wear their orange hat? Was that in the 70s? Probably 70s, early 80s that they wore an orange hat. And then they just Google it. Just Google Astros orange hat. You'll find it. And I still have one somewhere that I bought when they changed to the uniforms. I mean, those early days, they wore them on Saturdays. It was their Saturday cap. I always loved that. I always loved that about I hated the brick red era of Astros uniforms, but I appreciated it that they had a weekday jersey, a Saturday jersey, and a Sunday jersey. They don't have a Saturday jersey anymore. I could get down with a Saturday jersey again. They've got a Monday, of course, with the Space City Connect jersey, which I think it should. From what I know, when they unveiled that, and we talked to the Astros people, next year is supposed to be the last year of the Space City jerseys, and then they're going to get a new one. It'll be a new design. So those are supposed to change like every 3 years. But again, please bring back the orange hat. I want the orange hat back, at least for Saturdays. Give it back to me. I didn't like when they got rid of they went away from it and went to the orange with the blue brim. That didn't work for me. I just want the straight orange hat. Let's go. I think that's what we need. So Framber, again, please make that your mission to make that happen. Let's talk about what happened roster-wise today, and let's preview the Rays series next here on the Locked On Astros Postcast. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trade, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Locked On Astros Postcast continues. Thank you very much for joining us here on the show. Michael Connor, your host, of course, and if you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on podcast, go find Locked On Sports Houston on YouTube, and you can watch it and hit the subscribe button. I think we're closing in on 1,500 subscribers so far. I really do appreciate you guys that we're getting close to that number. It's been an amazing climb. Yeah, we got 19 to go. Let's go. You guys can pull it off. 19 more. You can do that tonight. You got it. Yeah. And if you get it, I guarantee you the Astros will bring back the orange hat. That's a Michael Connor guarantee. If you know anything about Michael Connor guarantees, if you listen to me on the radio, you know that those always come true. Always come true. But the Astros today, before we get to the Rays series there a little bit, if you missed it, I told you this would happen. I mean, it wasn't the hardest prediction to make. They got past the deadline. They couldn't find, which we didn't even talk about that aspect the other night. The fact that the Astros pulled off that trade with the Blue Jays and gave up 3 prospects like they did, which Joey Loperfido, by the way, made his debut today for the Angels. The Blue Jays went 1 for 5 in that. The fact that they couldn't get or have the ability to tack on Montero to it, be like, hey, we'll do this, but you got to take Montero and his money. It's crazy. That's bad. That I'm sure if that wasn't asked or demanded in it, that's bad general managing. Simple as that. I don't know. I'm not privy to this conversation, so I'm not going to sit here and say that they didn't. I'm just saying from the outside looking in that they pulled off a trade like that, giving up as many prospects as they did, and weren't able to shed some sort of salary as part of it. Without knowing the conversations, it is embarrassing. So I'll leave it at that. But Rafael Montero gone, DFA'd. Now you're not out of the crosshairs yet, maybe, of Montero being around, because for some reason Dana Brown decides to sit down and go, we want him to take the assignment to AAA. We asked him if he'd do it. He's got a lot of family and a lot of friends here, and people love him, and we love him in that clubhouse. We want to send him back down there to find his 2022 form. Like, what are you smoking? Like, this screams of Jim Crane doesn't want any more egg on his face, because if you go back and look at it, the most atrocious offseason in the history of time, when he and Jeff Bagwell were running the joint, when they gave Michael Brantley, off of shoulder surgery, $12 million, when not anybody in the world was going to give him $12 million. You could have gotten him for probably 2. Gave Jose Abreu, which, again, at the time we were all excited about. Loved it. I, on the radio, said for myself at the time, I didn't like giving him 3 years. It just turned out that you didn't like, having any room at all. Or, giving him any money at all. It turned out to be a just absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. Hey, I'm glad you guys know about the Michael Connor guarantees, by the way, in the comments. I appreciate that. I will say, I've made a few of them in my life, and I enjoy making guarantees. I had a bit of a problem there for a while making guarantees. And you know what? Something that I need to do, I need to just bring my buddy Josh Beard these one of these shows with us. I think I might ask him to come do a Texans show with us here and there too. But I need to bring back. If you listen to me on my last stop on the radio, we would do horoscope boys, and we'd read the horoscopes of a few select players every day to figure out if they, if they're going to be on it or not. So I think I got a couple things to bring back. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys enjoyed it or not, or if you would enjoy it. We'll give it a test run, see how it does. The horoscope boys back in business, reading horoscopes of the Astros players. But Rafael Montero, it was the lock of the century that he would go. DFA'd. I hope he refuses the assignment. Nobody's going to claim him, of course, on waivers because nobody wants his. I mean, we're talking about the 8th highest paid reliever in baseball per year, and he got released a year and a half into the contract. Who could have saw it coming? It is a complete and total example of why you never pay relievers. You just don't. You don't pay them. You can find them every year. Now, there's certain guys that you do pay to an extent. You always got to pay a few of them. You got to have some reliable arms. I get that. You don't need to play at the world of Josh Hader every year, $95 million, whatever it is. But I just, it's just, I think we all knew that one. I know exactly where I was that morning. I won't tell you because it was in the morning and I just had a cup of coffee sitting there and I just yelled at, what the? My wife heard it. And, what are you yelling about in there? It's like 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm telling her about it. Yeah. He's gone. I don't got to worry about him anymore unless he gets a DFA or unless he takes the assignment and then gets called back up in September. No, please no. Rays series coming up this weekend. Big important series. A Rays team that traded off a lot. They're not bad. You cannot just look at them and think you're going to cakewalk past them. They're 55-53. They're not great. But look, you just struggled against a team that's very similar in the Pittsburgh Pirates for really all 3 days. Friday night, Yusei Kikuchi up against Shane Baz, who I believe is a Houston native. Saturday, it'll be Ronel Blanco up against Zach Little. Sunday, Tampa does not have a starter listed to this point. Spencer Arrighetti will pitch for the Astros in that one. Spotlight will be on Friday night, of course, Kikuchi. We all know him. We've seen him. He's pitched in this ballpark plenty of times in years past when he was with the Seattle Mariners. The stuff is wicked. He throws really hard. He can make guys look foolish at times. The question is going to be, can the Astros tweak whatever that they've seen and get the usage out of him that secret sauce that they found with a lot of pitchers throughout the years. So we'll see. I don't think that you buck a trend of this guy just gives up a lot of hits and a lot of guys get on base against him. And I just don't know. Is he suddenly going to become he's always been a good strikeout, but is he going to become a guy that just doesn't get hit much? I'm going to bet on the no on that one. But again, we'll be with you after that game on Friday night. But don't forget, tomorrow night, this channel will be live. Yeah, it won't say Locked On Astros Postcast on it. It will say Locked On Texans Postcast, the very first one of 2024 for the future Super Bowl champion, Houston Texans. I wish I was kidding. I think they can win the Super Bowl this year. Now, is it likely? No, of course not. They play in the same conference as Kansas City Chiefs, but one can dream. It's the most optimistic I've ever felt, and I know that all of you have ever felt about the Houston Texans. So tomorrow night when that Hall of Fame game against the Bears wraps up, we'll be live with you here on the channel for the Locked On Texans Postcast. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Talk to y'all tomorrow night after Texans and Bears right here on the Locked On Sports Houston page.